My water. Okay. So I have something to say. What do I do with that water? I set it on something. No. Oh, did I put it in the fridge or the microwave or something? To keep it safe? Yes, I did. I put it in the fridge. Okay. I have something to say. I don't know. In fact, maybe I should text him. I don't know if Aiden is awake this morning, but I want to have this recorded in case I don't. Sometimes I call people and I don't get them. I get their answer machine or whatnot, and then I forget what I was going to say. And so I would rather have this recording before I call him, at least, even if I miss him today, because I could send him this. Aiden of Finland's World, if you're watching, this is for you. This is basically, not to sound crazy or anything, this is basically like an imagined conversation I'm having with Aiden this morning in my head. And probably anyone older than me or experienced that's listening to this is thinking, let's just call him, dude, that's weird. But let me just get this out. Imagine I'm talking to Aiden. I'm like, Aiden, I really want to give you an opportunity to read the Book of Mormon. And it's, like before you leave town, before you go off and make your life, I want you to read the Book of Mormon. And I want you to tell me about it. Because right now, I won't always be here, but right now I'm here to talk with you. So, read it. And I imagined that he said something along the lines of, it would be irresponsible for me when I don't even understand the Bible and I'm a brand new Christian to immediately start reading the Book of Mormon. Not only that, not into polygamy, not into, whatever other Mormon tropes there are. And I would say to Aiden, imagine there was a pastor. Okay, this is like a parable, sorry. Imagine there was a pastor, and this pastor was leading his congregation through reading through the Bible again. They've done it before. Done it multiple times now. And I walk into their congregation and sit down for the first time ever. And I see they have on a projector. They're in Genesis chapter 28. And I think to myself, wow, a real Bible-believing Christian group. This is extraordinary. What a find. I should be able to get a lot of value out of this, right? And I'm there, and he gets up and he's walking over and he starts and he says, now these are the verses we're going to read out of chapter 28. We're going to read verses 2, verses 3, and verse 19. And I'm going, right? If you had to guess, I know this is my scenario, but if you had to guess, why do you think the pastor only had them read select verses out of Genesis if they're supposedly reading through the Bible? It's because he only spoke or only wanted to read with the congregation what he understood. And imagine if the New Testament was that way. Imagine if the New Testament was not so plain and easy for him to understand. Imagine if he could only read select verses, could only teach select verses out of the whole Bible. I think you, Aiden, and I will both agree that what he should do is to seek understanding. And I'm sure you'll jump on his side and say, well, I'm sure he tried. My point is not to belittle this pastor. I'm trying to give an example. The law is the first 5 books of Moses. It's Genesis, it's Exodus, it's Deuteronomy, it's Numbers, and it's Leviticus. This is the law of God, the law and word of God. And so you could say, well, let's split it up, Old Testament and New Testament. So Joshua through Malachi, in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, through Revelation. And the Book of Mormon, First Nephi, or Nephi, through Moroni, or Mormon, whichever is the last book, I can't remember now, of the Book of Mormon. And of the Doctrine and Covenants, first section through, whatever, 200. What are those things? Those are added testimonies of Jesus Christ. These are testimonies. They bear witness of the light and of the truth, but they are not themselves the light. The light is the Torah. The light is the 5 books of Moses. And so, if you are willing to spend time trying to understand Joshua through Malachi and Matthew through Revelation, then you should, for the same reason, be willing to spend time and energy and focus trying to understand the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants both. Now, take one at a time, okay? Take a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, to read the Book of Mormon. And you're a voracious reader, Aiden, and you're gonna get through pretty quick. I think you can read the Book of Mormon if you read it by itself. You read it in 6 months, very easily. 2 months with some difficulty, and I think you could read it in a year alongside the Bible, but I don't know if you would be able to hold all of that together. Perhaps you could. So an argument that I'm imagining you would make to not read the Book of Mormon, but to read the Bible. You see how it's sort of defeated there? Maybe you don't see it. Maybe I don't explain it very well either. But there's a second reason, perhaps, that you don't know anyone that has read the Book of Mormon and accepts it as a added witness, added testimony of Jesus Christ that you respect, or whose input in ministry, etc., you appreciate. That would exclude me, by the way, but that's fine. I actually give you more intellectual credit than to do things just because other people are doing them. I think one of the really cool parts in the Book of Mormon that I love to emphasize is that every time, there's groups of people, right? Just like there are in the Bible stories. There's groups of people, and sometimes they're wicked, and sometimes they're full of iniquity, and sometimes they're righteous. Whenever it says the people wrought righteousness, they became a righteous people, it says, and they followed the law of Moses. What you're talking about is a group of Jews that left Israel, and the Jews that remained in Israel apostatized, meaning they left what they previously believed. They denied the truth, and they rejected Christ, and they killed him. But that came later. The Jews that were warned by God through means of revelation, prophecy, right, to them. God spoke. They listened. They heard. They left. They departed, and God made a provision for them, made a way for them to cross the ocean, cross the sea, and to reach the promised land, which is now called North America, the United States and Canada, that kind of thing. The United States of America, essentially. And those received revelation that there would be a man born, and he would be called the Son of God, and his name would be Jesus Christ, and he would be the light to the world. And they knew the sign by Samuel the Lamanite, descended from really bad guys, prophesied the whole, sun not setting and darkness for 3 days, concerning his birth and his death and all this kind of stuff of the Savior Jesus Christ. And then he did appear to them after he ascended. He left his disciples in Jerusalem. He went to the Jew first and then to the Gentile. He went to, right from Israel, he went to America. Jesus Christ, I mean. And he appeared to them with pierced hands and feet and a wound in his side. A wound in his side. Yeah. And he taught them, and he ordained priesthood and apostles. And he taught them, just like he did in Israel, the same things, same sermons. And they're recorded there. And then he went to other places as well. In fact, as far as I understand it, he went to everyone, or everyone that would receive him. But he went to the Jew first. And so that means Israel and America. And that Book of Mormon is a record of those people and their struggles. It's like, well, why would I want to read that? Well, I don't know why you'd want to read the Bible. Why do you want to hear it? Have you read the book of Joshua? You've read the Bible now. Why read that thing? Why? Because you're convinced that there is something powerful in the deep meaning behind this ancient book, which so many of our founding fathers believed in, which caused them to found our nation and secure our freedoms after like manner of our Christian Bible and 5 books of Moses. There's some thoughts. You do have to be careful which Book of Mormon you get. If you're gonna not talk to me and instead try and buy one online or something, just make sure it's a 1908 version. It doesn't matter that much. Just make sure it's not LDS. There's a whole, I don't want to go into church history. That's really disgusting and boring and horrible. Talk about a waste of time. But there were many factions after Joseph Smith's death. And the people that are the LDS church, Utah, the Mormons that you know that are so popular and well known for polygamy, etc., which are actually much more conservative than the Community of Christ, or LDS factions now. They're guilty of tolerating sexual sin much less than the churches here in Missouri and the Midwest. But those that are in Utah in the LDS group do not represent Joseph Smith. They do not represent the Book of Mormon or the Doctrine and Covenants, the added testimonies of Jesus Christ well. In fact, they do it very poorly. And they serve themselves. I'm not against any Mormon today. I'm not angry with anyone in that church. I just, I'm referring to the history of those who were Joseph Smith's friends, who killed him, which is provable still today, which truth has actually come out in the last 3 or 4 years, and which conspired to steal away his people and his congregation and to take them up into Utah where they wanted to live and where they could monopolize the young women. Anyway, that's so then they changed the Book of Mormon to be accommodating to their polygamous views and other things, because they had to change it because there were things in there referencing Jacob in the Bible, referencing David and Solomon, in the book of Jacob, in the Book of Mormon, condemning their multiple wives and concubines, etc., and re-emphasizing what is originally from the Bible. Chronologically, it's older in the Bible. That man should have one wife, and a woman should have one husband. So, anyway, there's my 2 cents. I hope that's a blessing to you, Aiden, and I hope you will read the Book of Mormon. I can't necessarily afford to buy you one, but I can tell you where to get one. And if you look online, maybe you'll find one. If you do, try and get a non-LDS. You can get a Restored Covenant edition. That'd be good to study in. That's the one I bought, Mason, which may or may not be at your house. And any 1908 version will work. Anyway, see ya. Love you, boys. Bye.